Today we're going to be looking at how to solve one-step division equations. We have a couple of examples that we're going to work through together here, so let's get started. For question number 1, we're being asked to solve for the value of n. And as we can see up top here highlighted in yellow, in order for us to isolate our variable of n, we're going to need to perform the inverse or the opposite operation of whatever is being done to n in this problem. Well, for question number 1, we can see that n is being divided by 15, so we need to perform the opposite operation of division in order to isolate our variable of n. And the opposite operation of division is multiplication, so we're going to multiply the left-hand side of this equation by 15 in order for us to isolate for our variable of n. But this brings up a very important point, which we can see up top highlighted in blue, in that we need to keep both sides of the equation equal. So since we're multiplying the left-hand side of this equation by 15, we need to make sure that we do the same thing to the right-hand side of this equation so that we can keep things equal. So now we're going to go ahead and actually isolate for a variable of n, because multiplying by 15 and dividing by 15 are going to cancel each other out, so now n is going to be isolated, and then we're simply going to multiply 7 times 15, and that's going to give us 105. So that means that n is equal to 105. And if we want to double check just to make sure that we have the right answer here, we're simply just going to plug in our results for n and see if we get the same answer. So we have 105 being divided by 15, and that should equal 7. Well, when we divide 105 by 15, we get 7, and since both sides of the equation are equal, that means that we in fact have the right answer. N is equal to 105. Now moving on to question number 2, where this time we're being asked to solve for the variable of b. And since we need to perform the opposite operation of whatever's being done to our variable here, b is being divided by 8, so that means that we're going to perform the opposite operation of multiplying by 8 on our left-hand side. And since we need to keep both sides equal, we're also going to be multiplying our right-hand side of this equation by 8 as well. Well, on the left-hand side, multiplying by 8 and dividing by 8 cancel each other out, so that means that b is now going to be isolated, and then we're simply going to multiply 6 times 8, which we know gives us 48, so b is equal to 48. And we are going to double check this, so we're going to plug in our value for b into this original problem. So we have 48 divided by 8 equals 6. And when we divide 48 by 8, we get 6. And since both sides of this equation are equal, it means that we have the right answer, and b is in fact equal to 48. So now let's try out a couple more problems here to make sure we have this down. I encourage you to pause this video and then work through these problems on your own, and then play through the rest of the video to make sure that you got the right answers. For question number 3, we're being asked to solve for the value of n. And we can see here that n is being divided by 7, and we know that the opposite operation of division is multiplication, so we're going to multiply the left-hand side of this equation by 7 in order for us to isolate for our variable of n, and we need to keep both sides equal, so we're also going to be multiplying the right-hand side of our equation by 7 as well. Well, on the left-hand side, multiplying by 7 and dividing by 7 cancel each other out, so n is going to be isolated, and then we're simply going to multiply 11 times 7, which we know gives us 77, so n is equal to 77. And now we're going to plug in the value for n here just to double check to make sure we got the correct answer. So we have 77 being divided by 7, which is equal to 11. Well, when we divide 77 by 7, we get 11, and since both sides of this equation are equal, it means that we do in fact have the correct answer, and n is equal to 77. Now moving on to question number 4, where this time we're being asked to solve for the value of b. And b here is being divided by 10, so we're going to perform the opposite operation and we're going to multiply the left-hand side of this equation by 10. And we need to keep things equal, so we're also going to be multiplying the right-hand side of our equation by 10 as well. Well, on the left-hand side, multiplying by 10 and dividing by 10 cancel each other out, so that means that our variable of b is now going to be isolated, and then we're going to multiply 25 times 10, which we know gives us 250. So now we're going to figure out whether or not b is actually worth 250 or not. So we're going to plug in the value for b, which is 250, being divided by 10, which is equal to 25. Well, when we divide 250 by 10, we get 25, and then since both sides of the equation are equal, it means that we have the right answer and b is in fact equal to 250. So hopefully by now you understand how to solve one-step division equations. Help make math less complicated by smashing those like and subscribe buttons. As always, enjoy today's math journey.